We go talk revolutionary talk today. They like to pretend that they are Morris Bishop. We gonna talk socialist Marxist talk today. I want you to understand that many of these people look down on you. They can't relate to you. They don't see you as their equals. They see you as people who they can use to get them in power and to have them maintain power so they can use the machinations of government to self-enrich. But deep down, these people resent the regular people of Grenada. Deep down, they scorn you. Deep down, they look down on you because their mentality within their head is all elitist mentality. They don't care nothing about no proletariat or working class. They don't care nothing about the hard-working, back-breaking work that the man at the bottom of the barrel does. That is why they could jeopardize your fishing contracts, because it doesn't affect them. These are a bunch of paper-pushing. That's what they are, paper-pushing lawyers. And you ever wondered how they elevated themselves in that industry? You ever wondered about that? Well, let me give you a little background about these people. Even at the high school level, they so hate their beginnings. They so hate their background. Even at a high school level, guess what? They never wanted to hang around or intimate or have conversations with people who reminded them of who they were. They never wanted to interact with people of their social class. Guess who they wanted to hang out with? They wanted to hang out with the mercantile class and upper petty bourgeois elites. That is what their peers said about them. Okay? So you expect when they get in government that they will truly represent your interests? You must be out of your mind. You are only there as subjects. Remember, they said it in a very subtle way. The elitist thinking and mentality, they exposed it to Grenadians and said, look, who's King Charles? King Charles ain't had nothing on me because I have the people of Grenada. Pretty much that's what they're saying. Because look, I have the people of Grenada intoxicated, seduced, and here worshiping me. They are my subjects. So how King Charles could have anything on me? This is the mentality of the people you're dealing with. And their associates. This is NDC. The upper echelon is a petty bourgeois party. These people don't care nothing about proletariat or working class or the man at the lower bottom of the barrel. They don't care. How could they? Many of them, if they had grown up in tough times, wants to forget it. Look at them carefully. Do you see them going into their neighborhoods and trying to uplift the people of their neighborhoods? No. Look at the one in the tongue of St. George. She ran away from the wharf area. Instead of coming back to the wharf area, invest in her neighborhood, build her neighborhood, guess what? She ran away from it. She doesn't want to be reminded of her background. Same thing with the elite at the top. You ever wonder how they elevated themselves through the ranks? Even in their profession, the paper pushing lawyer profession. There's no skill required in that. These are paper pushers. Okay? Don't let them impress you. They are paper pushers. That is why you see they feel so comfortable around other paper pushers. That is why you see these socialist Marxists who are supporting them in the geopolitical spat between the US and Venezuela. A bunch of another paper pushing punks. Okay? That is why they associate with them. They're all part of the same elitist class that looks down on Grenadians, that have no respect, neither no love for Grenadians. Again, let's look how they elevated themselves in their profession. Okay? And then you would understand that there's no mystery that now they are in government, that they're doing the same and using the same rapacious methods. Let's talk about it. Now I tell you, and I love that gentleman so much. That gentleman, every Saturday I used to go by that gentleman and buy my fruits and my veggies and meat and stuff like that. My family and I. Okay? They would send me up there on a weekend so we could purchase our stuff. That gentleman, Mr. Soka Boka Grant. Okay? Obviously, you may know that he was a lawyer by profession. And then he turned and became a farmer, working his back to feed Grenadians. Okay? That man and his wife created a law firm, Grant and Grant. And guess what? They made a horrible mistake by bringing certain people into that law firm. Okay? And guess what they did? Guess what they did? They lick up the clientele and move out on them. So you surprised now that these people, when they elevate themselves and they get into positions of power, are you surprised that they will do what they do? Are you surprised that they will use the machinations of government to self-enrich? It's not a mystery. People always give you clues to who they are and what they'll become early in their career. And in some respects, I blame my old schoolmate from since elementary school. Okay? We went to school in Batish. I don't know how she sat back and allowed these people, in some respects, to rip off the clientele of a firm that these people worked so hard, broke their backs to create. I remember that man's wife when I was working in Barclays Bank and I'm coming up, Lucas Street. That woman was always busy working hard, running to court. So you see, these people don't build anything. They are charlatans. They are opportunists who use what people have built to elevate themselves, to come and raft it, to elevate themselves. This is who you're dealing with. So you think with their sweet speeches and their mamagism to their followers or their subjects, because that is how they see you guys, because you have elevated them to some form of idol worship. That is what you think they care about you. You are only good in as much as you can provide adulation and praise. That is what you're there for. And I know it's difficult and hard to accept. Okay? I know it's difficult. But that is the reality. And the sooner you recognize that, then you will liberate yourself from that idol worship. And then you will liberate Grenada from the clutches of charlatans. They have no real technical ability. They don't understand anything in the domains of infrastructure. Everything they touch, like Medusa, it turns to stone. Why you think they said what? They said, oh, we have bridges for, the Queen's Park area. We have bridges. Why you think they didn't make no moves on that bridge? You know why? Because it involved something from scratch. It involved design of the abutments on both sides of the bridge. They could talk all the talk and say, oh, we bought the superstructure. Oh, we bought some steel bridges. But we have to put the abutments in place. You know why they didn't do it? Because they lacked the technical ability to design and build the abutments. It's too complicated. You cannot drive a country forward if you don't have people within your midst or your ranks who are technically savvy to drive the country forward. A country is built on infrastructural development. They can transform the landscape of Grenada. But now they depend on tourism, the service industry. Who provides, who works hard in the service industry? You, the regular Grenadian and the middle-class Grenadian. Okay? And what do they do? So all the money that's made for Grenada is made through these industries. Okay? And is made through some agriculture industry. And guess what? So the taxes we collect are from the taxpayers, the service industries, a bit of agriculture, and the sham, the paper-pushing sham of selling passports. Okay? When you see the rip-off, your hard-earned taxpayers' money, you should grieve You should grieve, because that money represents your sweat, your blood, and your tears to create that money. And then it's easy to just wildly spend it and drive around in $200,000 BMW. That's the good high life they like. This is a generation you're dealing with, these young cats. They understand no value in building anything and creating anything from scratch. They are opportunists, charlatans who will seize what has already been built. And they also reminded me of their socialist Marxist counterparts in 1979 to 1983. So they want to talk revolutionary talk? Let me talk revolutionary talk. Again, as I have said, this NDC party in its current state, this is not the party of George Brazan. This is an elitist petty bourgeois party. They cannot understand your struggles. They never will be able to understand your struggles. Where do you think where they have all their support? Among these petty bourgeois in St. Paul's and Pedmonton and places up there. How do you think? Where do you think they have their support? Just look toward the society in Grenada and you'll see that their main support comes from the petty bourgeois class. Okay? These people invest in them because they know they're going to get 3 times and 4 times and 5 times the rewards for the investment they invest in them. Like the smart man, in some respects, which I believe is like a foreign interference in Grenada's election, who give them money and support their campaign. And when they come in, guess what they did? They handsomely rewarded them. And they did certain things in their favor. You can see through this. So these are the people you are going to continue have right in your back. Right in your back. And elevating themselves, self-enrich, while you break your backs for their self-enrichment. You've got to see through this, Grenada. You've got to see through this. Contrast the character of the people in other parties. And I always tell them they can say what they want to say about Mr. Peter David. They can say what they want to say about MP Peter David. But guess what? They can't accuse him of using the machinations of government to self-enrich. Now all of them panicking and all of them angry that have decided to support Mr. Nicholas Macmillan and have the worst to say about him because they look down on the people at the bottom of the strata and the middle class. They're petty bourgeois in thinking. They look down. But these are the people who understands the struggle of you, Grenadians, because they have been in the trenches. They feel your pain. You expect people who have never felt your pain, who have never gone hungry, to understand your struggles? Who have never wondered how they have to pay their bill to understand your struggles? And they come and they seduce you with fancy speeches, mamaga you, trick you, bamboozle you, and then get into power to elevate themselves and enrich themselves and give you pennies on a dollar. You have got to wise up. You have got to wise up. And when people try to induce morality in government, guess what they do? They shaft them and they get rid of them. These are the people you're dealing with. These are the people you're dealing with. In some respects, this is an unholy alliance. Because I heard Kem Jones always talking about the Christian part of NDC. Christianity and NDC in its current state is like oil and water. What are these so-called Christians supporting a party that actually is in bed with socialist Marxists? Atheists, you supporting a party that is in bed with no God believing people? Well, you're confused, my friends. You're utterly confused. Do you see the agenda of what these people are promoting? They're promoting the reduction of the age of consent so they can come into schools without your consent and teach your children about all kind of abomination. That is their plan. You notice, they gave Emily a whole bunch of flack for saying, oh, she thought that it wasn't the right time, what the PM said after the young ladies got murdered. And they gave her a whole set of flack. But guess what? The same PM was opportunistic. He used that moment because he said, look, guess what? No amount of law is going to solve anything. So he's saying the legal system is not a panacea. It's not going to solve the problem. But guess what? If you listen to his speech carefully, he says, we got to introduce these sort of sexual education, okay? And this sort of information pretty much in primary school. So pretty much his platform was used in a very slick way to push his agenda of lowering the age of consent for our children. But they think they're smarter than everybody. They think they're slicker and smarter than everybody because Grenadian people have elevated these people in some respects to some sort of godlike status. Okay? And then you have Christians in the NDC who care so much and have sense of morality as supporting that agenda. This is paradoxical. This is crazy. The bottom line is this. I want you to understand the people that you're dealing with. I think you've been intoxicated. I think you've been duped. I think you've been bamboozled. Okay? And these people are demagogic. Sweet speeches will hypnotize you if you're not careful. That is the brilliance of D-Con or any con. Okay? That is the brilliance of a con. The ability to convince people to do what they wouldn't do under normal circumstances. Stay woke, people. Stay revolutionary. Resist and chant down socialist, Marxist, elitist, and petit bourgeois. Long live the people of Grenada. Forward ever. Truly forward ever. And backward never. Never backward to oppression. And never backward to rule by petty bourgeois intellectuals, socialist Marxists, and elitists within the NDC. Stand firm, forward ever.